If we're talking about the first weapon, which is the stick, we use a kali or escrima type stick. Now these sticks are commonly found in these Filipino martial arts, but we've adapted them for our system because they're quite versatile, right? So not only are they an excellent weapon, but they can serve as a piece of pipe. It could be, transferred to be practiced using as a baseball bat or any number of other things. This could be a hammer, for example. So it's quite versatile to learn training, both use and defense. Now, they're quite light, right? They're hard, they're made out of rattan. They're an excellent training tool. As a weapon, they're quite powerful. They can strike and they can thrust at different angles, right? Using both ends. So it's a great weapon to learn. At the beginning levels, what you want to do is focus on a couple of key areas. The first part is to make sure you've got a proper grip. Now the grip that we're looking for in this system is to make sure that I've got 1 to 2 inches on the back side here, and I've got maximum length of the stick, right? I don't want to be in the middle with the grip or really up high. That's a little too much. I just need a couple of inches. And I want to maximize the range here, okay? The backside helps us to perform things like grip strips, okay, or controls. You can pull on the back of somebody's neck or pull to sweep an arm in later levels. So that's part of the reason you have the back here. And also to thrust, right? A move we call puño, using the end to drive into soft targets, such as the eyes, the throat, and so forth. So, grip. Close your hand around there, leaving just 1 to 3 inches here at the back. I think I said 1 to 2 at the beginning, but we can go as much as 3, not too much more than that. But just a couple of inches there, maximizing the range, and just close your fist. So you basically just want to have your thumb overlap your finger, right? I don't want to have an open palm here. This is a terrible grip for this kind of weapon. This is a common mistake. Just want to close it off. This will help maximize the control and stability of the weapon. All right, so you've got a good grip there. Starting positions can be down and across, and this tends to be the best. The other starting position can be up. Now this typically happens when you've got, say, 2 sticks, a double stick, and we'll get into that in just a little bit, right, where you've got 2 sticks that you're working with. For the most part, this is going to be your primary standard position, just down and across. Now the first striking pattern that you're going to learn, the first striking pattern is going to be a figure 8. So how are we going to do that? Well, one of the things that we need to understand first off is that the weapon's highest and best value is its range. And in this case, the range that this stick offers is quite long. I've got a stick that's about 30 inches here, roughly speaking. So what I want to do is maximize the reach of that to the nearest target of my opponent, which tends to be things like a hand, right? Now I may aim for a head as, going for a great target shot, but the reality is if somebody's hand is in the way, hitting that with a stick or some kind of improvised weapon can be a tremendous advantage to end an altercation. So we're often looking for hands. When we're doing things like training with partners, however, often we'll just go stick to stick as a means to practice, good striking habits, good extension of the stick, not getting our hand by leading, right? Leading with the stick here, connecting and defending, so on and so forth. So that's a good way to think about training rather than some of the applications in reality, right? In reality, I don't want to just go my weapon against somebody else's weapon. I'm going to go my weapon against their body, right? Nearest and closest target and maximize damage and end the altercation as soon as possible. So let's get into this first striking pattern, understanding that the range, I'm trying to maximize range on this, which means that I've got to keep space relatively open to learn this beginning. As you get advanced in later stages, we'll start closing the space and even grappling with the weapon, combination sticking and striking with the weapon and so forth. But for right now, let's just understand how to maximize our strike. So down and across. We're going to roll the hand open. So this just literally means rotate the forearm, let the stick come up, and then start moving toward. And you notice that I'm leading with the right in my footwork as well as my handwork, right? I'm not minimizing it or exposing a side of my body and striking with a shortened reach. We want to maximize the range of this thing. So I'm going to lead with it. Now the knuckles that I'm striking with, or the line, is just these knuckles here, right? You can see that it forms almost like a blade or an edge if I work through that. I don't want to be hitting on the flat side of either way, right? So I'm just looking to strike straight through. This hand in the back, if you've got a single stick, we just keep it up. We call it a live hand. It may check or control or interrupt later on, or it just stays back here for protection, you know, to guard the throat or the midsection and so forth in knife, for example, and that sort of thing. So we're just going to keep it up and keep it live, right? Not going to be lazy with it. Keep it up. So we're going to come in and we're going to strike, leading with that stick, and that's the first strike. Okay, that's a forehand strike. So let's do that again. Forehand strike. Forehand strike. You notice that I'm leading with the stick. Leading with the stick. Good. Now, if I go to the other side and I do a backhand strike, then I'm going to lead with the stick and pull it through the opposite way. Here. So I'm literally rotating my forearm again, curling and pulling that stick through. Now, as a most basic function, if I do that forehand and backhand, you're going to start to see that I'm going to make a figure 8 type pattern. And that's the first striking pattern you're going to learn, because it transfers to all kinds of things beyond just the stick. It could be something like a bag. It could be a jacket, a heavyweight jacket like a leather jacket or a canvas jacket. It could be any number of things to help you maintain and control space. Now, it's not impenetrable, right? But it is quite valuable in terms of its ability to maintain continuous striking and learn it fairly quickly. So we like that as a beginning pattern, right? Just a figure 8. And I just want to make sure that I'm striking with those knuckles that more or less represent sort of a sharp edge on this round surface. This becomes much clearer, of course, when you get a bladed weapon, such as a knife, and we'll go over that here in just a little bit. But let's just start getting that down, okay? Strike, strike. Now, what am I trying to strike with? I'm trying to get as close to the end of the lever as possible, right? That's going to maximize my reach. It's also going to make sure that I get the fastest and best whipping action. I'll get a lot of power that way. It's unlikely that I'm going to get interrupted. So looking to get to that end is the best, right? Sometimes I call this like the belly of the stick. Now, a belly, we usually think middle, but I'm talking about the belly of the strike. So anywhere near the tip to about, 6 or 7 inches, I would say, tends to be your best striking ability, right? Where you're getting all of that whip and power into the strike. It's important that you strike and practice striking against the target, such as a heavy bag. Heavy bags are great targets to strike on. If you're hitting something hard, like a tree or some kind of mukjang, that can be pretty reverberating against your hand and body, especially when you mishit it. So I advise you to be careful when you're striking surfaces like that. But in any case, find a target. Use a target such as a heavy bag or a head bag. These are excellent targets to develop your sense of how you can strike, get your power, get your alignment, get your distance right. Very helpful. If I'm doing this overhand strike in this previous pattern that we just learned, well, you're going to notice that I'm almost drawing an X, a short X, from maybe around the collarbone or the head, side of the head, all the way through to maybe as high as, midsection in your thoracic region, right? Same on that side. So I'm just drawing those X's right through here. Now that's the shortest X that we're going to draw in that type of pattern. A longer version of this X draws from around the head or shoulder, collarbone area, all the way to the hip, striking all the way through to the hip. And even a longer version of the X could draw all the way down to a person's knee, from the collarbone or head all the way to the knee and back and forth. Now, as we get these longer strikes, well, we're going to modify the figure 8 pattern just a little bit. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to start drawing the down strike as well as the up strike. The up strike as well as the down strike. And this becomes really prevalent in patterns such as Cincatero, which we'll learn in a more advanced setting in another video. In any case, just think long, medium, or short, right? And depending on the context or circumstance, any one of those patterns may or may not make the most sense as in application to maximize your safety. Okay? Get used to this idea of being able to wield short, medium, and long. Both up and down. We'll get into those others in just a little bit. Concentrate on your target. And then, of course, we'll transfer this over, start working with partners.